All right, we're good. Excellent. Good morning. I guess I'll use this one. My name is Asif Khan. I'm the founder and president of the Location-Based Marketing Association. So thank you for having me here. I'll quickly introduce who we are for those who aren't familiar with us. We're a 4.5-year-old nonprofit industry trade association focused on the world of geolocation and helping marketers understand how to leverage location-based services and tools. We have approximately about 750 member companies that belong to the association globally. We have chapters or offices in all the cities that you see at the bottom of the page there. And we start off by looking at this world of location-based marketing, and we define that term location-based marketing as the intersection of people, places, and media. Because from the marketer's point of view, which is our primary constituent, about 70% of our members are the actual brands themselves, the retailers, the restaurant chains, the CPGs, their agencies, et cetera. And then the other 30% obviously are the vendors providing solutions in the space. But for them, we define this term location-based marketing as the intersection of people, places, and media. And we do that because we want to take the focus off of just mobile. We don't believe that location is only about mobile. The way we want marketers to think about it is to say, look, mobile can tell us where a customer or a prospect is right now from a geo point of view. But once you know their location, we want you to then ask the question, what media happens to be near that consumer in that particular situation? They might be in their car. It could be radio. They might be standing in front of a billboard right now, right? So all of these things can be made to be, all these forms of media can be made to be location-based. These are some of the companies that belong to the organization, just to show you the diversity. Companies, from NASA and DARPA, on Capitol Hill and government agencies, to American Express, to Alliance Data, to CBS Outdoor in the billboard world, to television networks and companies like Coca-Cola, McDonald's, and PayPal. This is a diagram we use to kind of define the ecosystem around location-based marketing. And so we start with this inner ring, this orange ring that you see there. These are the most predominant technologies in use today to kind of determine where a consumer is at the moment. In North America, about 82% of all location-based services are happening on a smartphone, leveraging GPS technology. So every smartphone has a GPS chip in it, and so we're using satellite to determine where the customer is or the user of that smartphone is right now. That's what Foursquare does. That's what Facebook is doing for its places, Google Latitude, etc. They're all using GPS to do that. When you get inside of a building, and Gary kind of alluded to this at the end there with his little device, we turn to what we call indoor location or indoor positioning, because satellite can break down when you get walls and concrete and pillars blocking the satellite signal. So we go to indoor location, which is primarily using Wi-Fi or Bluetooth technology to determine where somebody is actually inside of a store. And that can be very, very accurate, and I'll come to that in a little bit later. In other parts of the world, in Europe and Asia, where we have a lot of operations, we see a lot more, less smartphone penetration, number one. And we see the carriers in those markets, the telecom operators, mobile operators, providing geo-targeted SMS services to the brands, to the retailers in those markets. Once we know location, blue ring takes over, what media happens to be near the consumer in that particular situation, and then a whole bunch of mobile services, from augmented reality to mobile payments to analytics tools and loyalty platforms. In 2012, I coined this term, location is the new cookie. And what I mean by that is in the e-commerce world, we're very familiar with the idea of cookies, of tracking people when they come to our website, where they came from, when they come back. We store a cookie in the system to be able to do that. But I want you to think about location being this sort of new true cookie going forward that spans all media. And if we look at it in the day in the life of an average consumer, we wake up in the morning, and before we even get out of bed, what do? We grab the phone or the tablet on the night table beside us. We're already engaged. We're in a location. We're in our home. But we're connected through a device to a form of media, online media in that particular case. You get ready for work and you hop in the car and you're on your way to the office, and now you've got a different location. Obviously you're moving, you're transient. But the device that you're connected to might be the radio in that car, might be the GPS nav screen that you're dealing with. So you have a different communication channel and a different form of media you're dealing with. You get to the office, maybe it's your laptop or desktop you shift to. Middle of the afternoon, you take a break, you walk across the street to Starbucks. Now you got digital screens and menu boards talking to you inside of a store environment. So we're constantly shifting throughout the day, the media, the device, and the location. But the only thing we can track across all of that is location, right? And so I want you to think about that. And to kind of illustrate all this together, so one of the things we do at the LBMA is we've got all these great members, all these great brands, a ton of retailers and interesting tech companies, and we have this opportunity to sort of sit in the middle and come up with ideas, come up with new use cases on what can be done and push the boundaries of what can be done with location-based technologies. And so we go to our members, we go to our brands and say, what if we were to take your retail stores and this telecom operator and this location check-in service, put you guys together, maybe we can do something really interesting. So we do a lot of these what we call creative collaborations. So one of these I want to show you is a campaign we did with a company called StarHub in Singapore. They're like Rogers, cable TV operator, mobile operator, and they wanted to launch a music download service to compete against iTunes in the local market. And wanted to drive downloads, wanted to drive transactions, and so here's what we did to kind of show them the value of location.
There's one thing on you. Now this was a loner, lovable stoner. He lived in a bluebird, spelled his name backward. Such a very good thing. I haven't seen a pupil in his eyes for 16 days. The chapter goes up and then 100 million.
So pretty, interesting combinations of technologies coming together in a bunch of retail stores. But the interesting thing for me, when we think about location, is not about the store. It's about the actual fitting room in the store becomes the location. So, anything can be a location. Wherever we are right now is a location, right? So it's not just buildings we can check into on Foursquare and say we're here, right? It's anywhere. We might be in our living room, in our car, anywhere we are at the moment. So I'm going to walk you through some of the trends that we see as a global trade association in terms of how locations manifesting and being used in various scenarios at the moment. So augmented reality, and these are in no particular order, is one that we do a lot of work in at the moment. So 4 quick examples of that. On the top left, you have Domino's Pizza. This is in the UK. You have a bus shelter with a regular print transit shelter ad on the side of the shelter. But if you have the Domino's app in the UK, you hold it up over that ad. The ad pops out into an augmented reality space, a projection that is only visible through your phone, through the camera lens of the phone. And while you're waiting for the bus, you can order your pizza through this. You can choose your pizza selection. You can pay for it through the phone itself using a mobile payment that's built into that app. And by the time you can catch the bus and get home, that pizza is being delivered. So we're taking traditional print advertising, layering mobile, virtual augmented reality on top of it, and creating a transaction all in the same time. Okay, bottom left, this is a company called Wallet out of San Francisco, where I was yesterday, and they've got the idea of taking augmented reality and creating a giant virtual wall, like a Twitter wall, if you will, that's only visible through your phone the entire length of a football field, or any size, any place, any time. They've done this with taking the whole Golden Gate Bridge and created a giant wall where people are posting messages saying like, "Will you marry me?" and stuff like this, right? So all kinds of things like that going on. I'm going in the interest of time, just moving quickly. On the bottom right, so in India, we just had the election there, and you have Narendra Modi has won that election. Well, while he was out campaigning to win this election, he had like 3,000 speeches that he had to give, and over 1,000 of those he gave, using holographic, projections. He wasn't actually there. He just appeared, as Tupac did, reborn, using the same technology that Tupac did actually. To do that, and so over 1,000 speeches that he delivered in virtual augmented space. Okay. And this works in commerce too. So one of our members is an e-commerce retailer in China called Yihaodian. And they're a grocery chain, don't have any physical stores, but wanted to tie this idea of location and AR together in a commerce framework. Here we go.
Online shopping has become a major phenomenon in China. But when it comes to grocery shopping, people still prefer the traditional supermarkets. This is Carrefour, with 220 outlets at present and adding 20 more this year alone. Each store handles over 10,000 customers every day. Tesco and Metro are just as big. Competing against these multinationals is a local e-commerce company called Yihaodian, an online grocery service. Yihaodian means number one store in English, and that's exactly what the founders want to be, the number one. To realize this dream, Yihaodian had to steal customers from the much bigger pie of brick and mortar shopping. So, on October the 15th, 2012, we opened 1,000 stores overnight in some of China's most strategic and iconic locations. And since we are an online grocery store, our supermarkets weren't made of brick and mortar, but of pixels and bytes. Measuring 40 by 40 meters each, they covered the equivalent of 1.6 million square meters of prime commercial real estate. We placed them conveniently on parking lots, business campuses, and near office buildings. In Beijing alone, there were 100 stores, even at Tiananmen Square and the Forbidden City. In fact, we even built one right under Carrefour's nose. Our location-based augmented reality app helps people locate the nearest store. They can enter it like a regular supermarket, walk through the aisles, and choose from over 1,000 products. When they check out, purchases in their virtual basket are delivered straight to their home. Time-starved consumers liked this combination of traditional retailing experience and e-commerce. After all, there are no long lines at checkout and no trolleys with wonky wheels. News of our 1,000 store launch spread through PR, video and word of mouth, and Yihaodian was thrilled by a staggering 17% increase in revenue over a 3-month period. So now when it comes to sales per square foot, we can truly say that we are Yihaodian.
So, using AR in a way that actually has a physical element to it. You can actually walk through these stores with your phone. They're not really there, but they have dimensional space to them, right? There's an actual footprint that you're walking, and it looks exactly like a real grocery store would. It's got all the aisles and the shelves and the products on the shelves, and you can order and scan the products you want and buy those products and pay for them all through your mobile device in a virtual framework, right? I mean, Amazon, we're talking to Amazon right now about creating Amazon stores that have this kind of framework to them, right, where people can walk through an Amazon store and buy product. Telematics and wearables. We do a lot of work in what I'll generically call the connected car space. This is a space that's fast evolving. Just like your smartphone, can do all these wonderful things. Your car is really the next big smart device that everybody's focusing on right now. And so, when you go and buy a car going forward, like in the US, if Audi already has a partnership with Verizon, but if you go and buy a car, you'll be able to get a 4G LTE plan with that car. The car is connected all the time. And you'll have content being pushed in the car and commerce happening directly from that car environment. Top left, what you see here is a partnership between one of our members called Placecast, which is a geo-targeted SMS carrier enablement platform, and a streaming radio company called AHA Radio, owned by Harman. And so what you have is, if you have this streaming radio service in your car today in the US, what you have is Groupon type deal content being pushed directly into the nav screen of the car based on the location of where that car is right now. So deals and offers being sent directly into the nav screen of the car based on the current location of that car, and the ability to purchase directly by touching your screen and paying for those kinds of things. On the bottom left is Apple's new CarPlay technology. So this is basically iOS put into the navigational operation systems of your car, right? So Mercedes is already running this in their cars today. And Google Glass on the top right going into the windshield, and wearables being able to gather data about the occupants and so on. So lots going on there. Number 3, what I'll call Payments Plus. So 3 quick examples of that. So just this week, this company called Logic PD launched a NFC, near field communications connected to facial recognition payments platform. The purpose of this is that from a retailer's perspective, is to actually catch fraud before a credit card company can catch fraud, right? Because they're able to detect just from a facial perspective, is this person the right person that should be carrying that card before a transaction even happens. And then in China, we work with a company called Alipay that is, basically this is in a subway station where you're buying your ticket to get on the train, and you basically use a sound-based transaction. So your phone's actually emitting sound to create the authentication to the machine to validate that you're actually there and to complete the transaction in a mobile payment. And then just this week also, one of our members, Mapco Express, which is a gas station convenience store chain out of Nashville and operates about 3,000 stores in the US, sort of middle to northeast, is the first company ever to actually allow you to do PayPal at the pump. So now you can actually pay, if you have PayPal, at the pump directly for your gas. So we're really excited about stuff like that. Indoor location, Gary alluded to this with so the Wi-Fi device that he has there. We do a ton of work in this space. So whether we're talking about Wi-Fi or Bluetooth Low Energy or beacons, there's a ton going on in this category in terms of analytics, understanding traffic within your stores. And this stuff can be very, very accurate. And I'll come back to that in 1 second. But let me show you an idea of what you can do with indoor location. So one of our members is a company called Meatpack. They're a running shoe sneaker company out of Guatemala. And most of their stores are in big shopping malls, kind of like what we have here, the Eaton Center, Calic Fairview, and malls like that. Well, I'll let the video speak for itself. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm at the Nike store. There he is. He's getting the message. There's a promotion for Meatpack. I think so. Yeah, we got him.
Sick bubble girl.
Meatpack is the trendiest shoe store in Guatemala, a brand known for its edgy, cutting style and a store known for its unique discounts in limited edition kicks including brands like Adidas, Nike and Reebok. An icon for the sneakerhead subculture with over 60,000 fans on their fan page in less than a year. They needed to launch a new promotion that lived up to their hardcore fans, an innovative way to earn your discount. We created Hijack, an enhancement for the official Meatpack app used by our customers. Using GPS tracking technology that marks every competitor's store of the brand sold at Meatpack. So every time one of our sneakerheads enters one of the stores, it triggers a special notice with a promotion. Hijack sends an alert to the person's mobile with a discount that starts at 99% and decreases by 1% every second that goes by, making the countdown stop until you reach our store. More than 600 customers were hijacked from the competitors in a week. One customer, Pedro Rodriguez, got a record-breaking 89% discount. This is the first promo campaign that started the sale in the competitors' stores.
So powerful stuff, right? And this one campaign created a concept that in our industry we now call geo-conquesting. The idea of sort of geo-fencing your competitors' properties and trying to steal customers and bring them into your environment. And the technology to implement that is very, very simple, right? It's just Wi-Fi, triangulation technology inside of a mall and being able to kind of move customers from one environment to another. We can bring this stuff down to a very accurate level, though. When we turn to Bluetooth Low Energy or beacons in particular, we can get accuracy down down to, in some cases, 1 foot of accuracy. So think about in grocery environments, for example, where you can know somebody's in the beverage aisle, you can know they're standing in front of the Coke display, and that's when you send them the coupon for $1 off the case of Pepsi, right? The relevance of that when you know exactly where they are, as opposed to sending that maybe into their email box or when they happen to come near the store or what have you, is so much more valuable. And so there are a number of different ways to approach that. The blue thing you see there is called an Estimote beacon. Shelfbucks is a company out of Austin, Texas that we work with. But you can also do payments with this stuff. So one of our members is a company called DigiCash out of Sweden, and here's what they're doing with beacons. And we've seen this in the Apple Store. Obviously, you've seen it in that example there. But if you have an iOS device, even if you're a small merchant, if you have a tablet, an Apple tablet, it is a beacon. If it's running iOS 7, it's already a beacon. So you don't have to go and buy additional hardware necessarily, unless you're trying to wire up a larger environment to do that. But it is about also thinking about the experience that we create in these retail environments that can drive higher revenue and transaction and basket size. So this is a bit hard to see. I apologize for the quality of this. This is a wine retailer called Mistral that we work with in Brazil. And I'll just kind of walk up here. So what you see is it's a very well designed space, but you've got these beautiful walls, white walls with bottles that kind of pop out of them, and above them are this whole black area at the top are digital screens that basically, as you pull a bottle out, is going to tell you a little bit of information about what that wine is. What's even more interesting though is you can actually pick up a bottle of wine, then walk to the middle of the store, and there's a huge Microsoft Surface table sitting there, and you put a bottle down on it, and all of a sudden it gives you all the details that you see over here about what that wine is, what winery it came from, what the makeup of it is, what the palate is, what good combinations it goes with, all this kind of stuff. I mean, the experience that this creates. I mean, the LCBO would go crazy if they started had to make this kind of investment, right? But when you're a private label retailer like this, you can do this kind of stuff. You can create experiential opportunities that drive huge increases in transaction volume, right? And this is important because when we hear about retailers like Best Buy, talking about showrooming and people coming into their stores and then getting on Amazon and doing price comparison and buying the product on Amazon, right? And that's a problem for them. Well, how do you fight that? You fight that by creating experiential things for the customers to go through that you can't replicate. You can't buy that experience on Amazon. That's not possible, right? It never will be, right? At least not today. The other thing to think about is this relationship between what we call connecting location-based platforms to loyalty platforms. So it's pretty easy to drive a coupon, or an offer to a mobile device today. There are lots of guys who can do that today. The hard part is redeeming the offer, right? Because what happens is in a lot of retail environments, we end up in situations where the barcode scanning point of sale technology isn't up to snuff. It hasn't been upgraded. We get too much glare when we go to scan off the mobile device off the screen, so we can't scan that that barcode properly. There's a lot of issues in the redemption process, or even the frontline staff hasn't been trained properly when I come up to them and say, "Hey, I'm supposed to get 20% off today, see?" Right? And they don't know what to do with that, right? But one way to solve that is to connect the mobile platform, whether it's Foursquare or some store loyalty program, to a card loyalty environment, whether that's American Express or or Visa or, Shoppers Optimum. Whatever it is, you can connect these things together. And so if the consumer takes the time to say, let's say they're a Foursquare user, and they link their Foursquare profile to their American Express card, and that particular restaurant says, if you check in on Foursquare today, you get 20% off on your meal, the consumer doesn't have to do anything with their mobile device because they've already linked it to their Amex card. As long as they pay with their Amex card, the 20% just shows up on the Amex bill, downstream. So, we're kind of taking that redemption hurdle out of the picture by linking the mobile platform to the loyalty program. Another thing to think about is the bridge between social and location. Gary talked a lot about some of the faux pas around social and some of the challenges that we have. But one of the big mistakes that we see at the LBMA is brands spend a lot of money on growing their following on Facebook and Twitter, right? So they spend trying to grow the number of users and followers that they have. And so I sit down with brands all the time and I'm like, so you got 1 million people who are your super fans who love you on Facebook. Where are they right now? Do you know physically, location-wise, where these people are right now and how close they are to your store? Are we converting them into traffic, into transactions? Well, no, we don't know where they are. But you can, right? Because Facebook allows you to do that. They have location services, and increasingly so in the last few weeks. But what's more interesting is these two companies. So both of these happened in the last 2 weeks. So this is in the UK. You got Bird's Eye, which is one of the largest manufacturers of frozen food, okay? Like Green Giant almost. And then you have over here Weight Watchers, which everybody should know. And what these guys have created is, in the last 2 weeks, pop-up restaurants based on their food. So Bird's Eye has got this restaurant in London right now, and you can go in there and all the menus made up of food from Bird's Eye's product set. And Weight Watchers the same thing. And you go in there, and if you take photos of the food that you're eating, because we do that anyways, right, on Instagram, and we post all this stuff, if you share it to the hashtags that they've created, your meal is free. You're basically trading your social currency for food, right, for nourishment in this case, right? And so this is an interesting new way to think about what we all have inherently in the value that exists in our own in our own lives, in our own homes, and all this stuff that's sitting there. This idea of collaborative commerce becomes really interesting, or social currency. And lastly, when we think about this, from a commercial perspective and transactional perspective, it needs to be experiential in what we do. So I'm going to show you one last example.
Поехали. Раз,
This is
два,
around the Sochi Olympics.
3, 4, 5, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 29, 30.
So basically, if you could do 30 squats, you got your transit ticket to ride the subway for free. Okay? Crazy stuff, right? But this is what drives people to engage, right? You can't buy that on Amazon. So this is in Moscow subway.
Потому что как только сказали о том, что воспользоваться им может любой.
I'll let that go from there. So that's all I got for you. I want you to just take 3 things away with you. I want to remember, when we think about location or a place, it's wherever you are right now. It's not just a building that we can check into and say we're there, right? It could be that fitting room. It could be a vending machine. It could be our living room. It could be anywhere. I want you to think about this idea of location is the new true cookie going forward. It allows us as marketers to track where our customer, where our prospect is, as they move throughout their day, through that shopper journey. And I want you to think about location-based marketing not being about mobile, but being about all media, right? Where are they right now? What media is near them? And how do we connect the dots and engage them? So thanks for your time and your attention. And yeah, bring Gary back up.